Hi, Julie Jones from SSB Performance, Smarter, Stronger, Better Mindset Training, here with this week's Mindset Made Simple Tip of the Week, brought to you by Game Day Sportswear and On Point Pest Control. This week we're talking about the second string and the pressures that go along with that position. I don't know if you've all noticed, but Joe Flacco has the Cleveland Browns going to the playoffs. Amazing. Now, yes, I'm a Steelers fan, and we're going to the playoffs too, but that's normal for a Mike Tomlin team. But Joe Flacco is awesome. And I bet you, if you go back a few years, there are very few people in Cleveland that would say that Joe Flacco's the bomb. Because Joe Flacco led the former Cleveland Browns, also known as the Baltimore Ravens, to the Super Bowl. And anybody who has any Cleveland Brown history has a little bit of about that. But we're excited. I'm excited. I love Cleveland, and I'm thrilled when they're doing well. But yesterday, they didn't win. In fact, they lost 31-14 to the Bengals. And the reason that they didn't win is because all the starters were sitting. Flacco, Myles Garrett, Amari Cooper, David Njoku, all their guys were taking a break because we're looking ahead to the playoffs. And the second string Browns played against the first string Bengals. And the topic of conversation with the commentators was this. And Jay Feely really pointed it out. He said there is a big difference between the number one guys and the second string in the NFL. And when he said it, I was like, ooh, that's a little harsh. But it's true. And we all know that it's true. We know that there's a difference between starters and non-starters. We know that every team has starters and non-starters. We also can all agree that every coach wants to win. Now, Kevin Stefanski decided the loss at this point was not a big deal, so he was willing to take the chance of sitting his starting guys and seeing what happened. In fact, we started a quarterback that had been in town for like a week. So it was more about keeping everybody healthy on Sunday. But the truth of it is that there are starters and there are non-starters. And that's really, really hard for a lot of people to swallow. Our identity is caught up in whether or not we're in the starting lineup or how much time we get on the court. And that's a cultural thing. And there's lots of factors that go into it, but it's reality. And for those of us who have children who are not starters, the Jay Feely comments really hit hard, and it's a really tough shoe to get your foot into. We think that there's all kinds of reasons why our kids aren't playing. But the truth of it is, coaches want to win. You rarely will come up upon a coach and say, hey, coach, why'd you do this? And for them to say, I'm trying to lose. No, not the case. But the truth of it is, we have to acknowledge the fact that being a non-starter is difficult. It comes with the same kind of pressures or similar pressures or the same weight of pressures, maybe I should say, as being a starter does. In fact, it may be even more stressful. So I've had this conversation often with my coaches about what do we do to keep our non-starters engaged? What do we do to keep them pushing our starters? In fact, I had the same conversation with my aunt, whose granddaughter, my cousin's daughter, of course, is playing on a perennial Division III national champion power, right? Our national power. And she's a freshman, and they're really good, and she's not starting. And to that you say, and? But it's hard. It's hard. It's hard to sit the bench. And we need to think about the pressures that are involved in that. And as a coach, I knew that it was hard, but I'm not sure that I really realized what all of that looks like. But here are 3 ways that it is difficult to be a non-starter. They feel as if they are constantly needing to prove themselves, this constant challenge of proving themselves. That's what they think they have to do. And sometimes that causes anxiety, and it causes pressure, and it causes a lack of confidence, right? They also must be mentally prepared to contribute at a moment's notice. This is difficult. That player that goes in and out of the lineup, I think that's, from what my players have told me, that's the hardest role to play. Am I going to start today? Am I not going to start? Am I going to go in? Am I not going to go in? And then dealing with the frustrations or the disappointment of not going in a time where they normally might. That's hard stuff. And then lastly, non-starters often grapple with frustration and disappointment caused or enhanced by the thoughts and comments and actions of others. Teammates, why aren't you starting? Parents, why aren't you starting? And all that goes into that. There's a lot that goes into being a non-starter. And all of this adds up to the same same feelings of pressure that coaches feel to win and that starters feel to knock down shots or carry the team to victory. But we don't acknowledge it nearly as much. So what can we do to help non-starters stick it out? Because if my cousin's daughter sticks it out, she's going to have an amazing experience. I bet you she starts, and even if she doesn't, she's going to be part of something really cool, going for national championship runs. That's amazing. This is not a new problem. Years and years and years ago, decades ago, I asked a kid, would you rather play on a losing team or start on a championship team? She'd rather play on the losing team. Wow. Think about that. But here are some ways that we can help them. Number one, we need to remind those that don't start that they're not playing in the game, okay, or assuming that they're not going to play in the game. So their game is at 11 a.m. on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And if they treat practice like a game, we need to ask them these questions. How would you sleep different the night before? How would you prepare differently the night before? How would you prepare differently that day? How would you walk into the facility different? What would be different about your preparation? How would you approach practice differently? And then the biggest question is, how would that change your performance? I'm pretty sure that it would. Legendary coach Sue Enquist talked about getting her players to enact roles instead of accepting them. She didn't want them to be good with it. She wanted them to do something with it. So she wanted her non-starters to push her starters so hard that the game seemed easy. In fact, if they lost, she jumped on everybody with the same intensity because the non-starters didn't push the starters hard enough and the starters didn't do their job. And if we approach practice as a non-starter as our game, we may sneak up on someone who's not doing that. We may outperform someone. And if nothing else, we're giving ourselves the best opportunity to perform at our peak because we have prepared differently, because our mindset has shifted, and we are treating this as our game. This is where I get better. How many times as a coach have you heard, oh, I just need to get in so I can show the coach what I'm capable of? Nope, not happening. We don't get chances in games. We get chances in practice. Every single day, we get to get a chance. And if we treat practice as a game, we're giving ourselves the best chances possible. That's number one. Number two, if we think about the pressures of going in at any moment, this lends itself perfectly to a mental rehearsal routine. There is nothing keeping any of us from taking at-bats or shots or defending someone when we're standing on the sidelines. We can take an at-bat with someone who hits similar to us. We can defend the person that we would go in to defend. We can stand at the line and take the shot with that pressure, or we can take the shot from the elbow extended with the shooter who's in our position. We can mentally rehearse and pre-experience the feelings, the flow, the engagement of the game, the tempo, right? The pace. And if we are in it, when we actually get in it, we're going to be much better. And we're priming our brain and our body to do what it needs to do. We are ready because we have been in it. Our body doesn't know, our brain doesn't know the difference when we're standing here and imagining it, or if we're actually doing it, that there's such little difference in that we are setting ourselves up for success when coach says, hey, Jones, you're in. Lastly, we can help people manage frustration and disappointment by getting them to remember what it is that they can control. People's actions, thoughts, and words they impact us, but they do not control us. We get to respond. We also, as Joshua Metcalf says in Chop Wood, Carry Water, we fuel our heart with 6 things: what we watch, what we read, what we listen to, who we surround ourselves with, how we talk to ourselves, and what we visualize. We control us. We don't control our playing time. We control our game in practice. And we have to remember that we can make a list of what we think others expect of us. This is a great little tool to help people manage expectations. Make a list of what we think other people expect of us. What do we expect of ourselves? What do other people expect of us? Cross out the things that really don't matter to us. Then go on and cross out the things that no one has explicitly told you. My coach thinks I should do this. How do you know? Did your coach tell you that? No. Okay, then it's not necessarily true. Cross out the things that are assumptions. Then cross out anything that can't be made into a goal by doing what? What behaviors does it take to actually reach that? Now we have a list of what's truly expected. It's a real list that we can actually put into steps to get better at or toward. These 3 things, I hope, can help those that struggle with not being the start of the lineup stick it out. I know it's easy to transfer. Even relationships don't hold that together anymore because bright lights or less pressure or more playing time are more of a pull. But while you have people, how can we help them be their best? Because if they're their best, everyone on the team is their best. So we can manage our own game in practice. We can have a mental rehearsal routine, and we can think about what we can control, and then we can really look at expectations and whittle them down to what really matters. And hopefully that helps us manage our position. Have a great week. Check me out at juliej@ssbperformance.com. I'd love to work with your team or bring some sort of help to your mental game. I'm in for it. Reach out. Have a great week.